Hey guys, check this out. Came across this at work and had to share it. Insane.
Well, a federal judge sentencing the person who plotted the assassination of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh to 8 years and 1 month behind bars. Nicholas Roski, who now goes by Sophie, admitted to flying from California to the D.C. area in 2022 with a gun and a plan to kill several Supreme Court justices. Attorney General Pam Bondi doesn't think 8 years is a sufficient sentence given the severity of the plot, saying this, quote, "The attempted assassination of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh was a disgusting attack against our entire judicial system by a profoundly disturbed individual. The Justice Department will be appealing a woefully insufficient sentence imposed by the district court, which does not reflect the horrific facts of this case." And the Attorney General wasn't the only one outraged. Here's Senate Judiciary Committee member Eric.
The idea that you had someone deranged like this trying to take out and murder a Supreme Court justice, and this is all that individual gets, is ridiculous. I think the grounds for appeal are strong.
So the DOJ was seeking a 30-year sentence for this. So why the leniency? How did it get down to 8? Well, Judge Deborah Boardman, a Biden appointee, says that she factored into the sentence her concern.
Get this. Oh my God. This transgender BS is just insane.
About Trump's executive order requiring transgender inmates to be detained in prisons that correspond to their sex at birth. That rationale shocking legal experts. Watch.
It's really disturbing that his mental health concerns and his concern of gender dysphoria was given as a literal get-out-of-jail-free card here. That's not how our system should work, and it's going to create a lot of bad incentives for people claiming gender dysphoria in the future if they think that's going to get them off of prison. This sets a bad example in a time of rising political violence. There's not the deterrence that there needs to be from all.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Now it's a mental condition deserving of some sort of special, compensations. Oh, where was that? 10 freaking years ago.
Both sides in our society, Democratic lawmakers who haven't said enough on all of these issues we've been talking about, right? All the way down, judges absolutely need to be holding that line so people understand political violence is out of the line.
That was exactly perfectly said. If deterrence indeed, which it is the major message we're sending, then what message did it send? Since the very next day, a guy rolled up to the Supreme Court with a Molotov cocktail.
Absolutely. It goes back to what we were saying in the previous segment, that the normalization of violence in this country has got to stop. The incitement to violence, the encouragement to violence, everyone always talks about dialing down the rhetoric. But if you keep describing Supreme Court justices, the president, mainstream political figures as Nazis, fascists, white supremacists, and all the rest of it, then you will get crazy people who will take a shot at these elected and unelected representatives. And of course you have to have the strongest possible deterrent in a society for this. 8 years for somebody who is trying to murder a Supreme Court justice? What kind of deterrence is that to anyone else who would like to take a shot? And I mean, I'm already, by the way, I happened to see one of the, I was at an event with one of the Supreme Court justices the other week. I was amazed by the amount of security they already have around them. And again, it goes back to this thing. They've done nothing wrong. The we of America relies on the branch of the Supreme Court. And if members of the Supreme Court can have shots taken at them, plots against them with minimal sentencing as a result, of course that's going to be an incentive to other maniacs like this person who, by the way, I'm of a different.
That's the whole damn point. They want to incentivize this kind of action. They want us gone. They want us taken out. We're on the border. We're on the verge of another civil war. God forbid that happens. I know my child's not, she's not capable of fighting. And but it's so insane that this is where we're coming to. Here we go. Crazy.
Gender thing. This is absolute, what I would call hogwash.
And let's dive in, Kaylee, to that exact point of the legality. Because at the end of the day, the judiciary has to uphold the laws. They can't just not like a certain executive order or a certain law and decide not to then honor it. So for the judge to bring in her personal opinion, and by the way, I need to make this point, that she is prioritizing the rights of that attempted murderer over all of those biologically female incarcerated individuals that statistically have shown the assaults, the pregnancies. Why do we have contraception in all female prisons? It goes on. So clearly in her balancing test, she prioritizes that attempted murderer, but she also inserts her politics into a decision. This is absolutely ripe for appeal, but I think ripe for an overturn. That individual will be behind bars for a lot longer than 8 years.
Yeah, the judge inserted her policy preferences. Look, Judge, if you wanted to implement policy, you could do that. You can run for office. You can run for Congress. You didn't do that. You weren't elected by the people. You are a judge. You carry out the law and litigate it from a constitutional perspective. You don't make the law. And she apparently thinks that she does. This is crazy. When you look at the sentencing memo DOJ filed here, listen to the degree of pre-planning this man, Nicholas, had. Do snipers aim for the head or the chest? He Googled. Best caliber for 200 yards. How do I account for the wind from 200 yards? Ways to break in. How to make my shoes quieter. All of this pre-planning. His Google searches are wild. But the thing that I think this judge ignored, and to me it's the most grievous, is the terrorism enhancement that the DOJ asked for. If you commit a crime or are contemplating a crime with the purpose of influencing government, there's a terrorist enhancement, they point out. Well, did this guy have that intent, have that motive? Just look at what he Googled. Also, the right has a 5-4 majority on the court. Nicholas Googled, if a conservative justice dies, does that become 5-4 for the left? He was trying to change the makeup of the court. And last one, yeah, but I could get at least one justice, he writes, which could change the votes for decades to come, and I am shooting for 3. So he wanted to get 3 Supreme Court justices. This was his intent, a terrorist intent, and you get 8 years. Right.
I mean, it's horrifying, Lisa, and the message it sends is that.
What do you think of that? Isn't that insane? He was to take out 3 Supreme Court justices. All Republicans, of course, and they're probably going to say, he will probably come out that this guy was a registered Republican, and, I'm sure they're going to spin it in so many different ways. I'm excited to see what they think of. It's going to be interesting.
This level of detailed plot, terrorist attempted assassination of multiple Supreme Court justices, the people that should be protected the most. That apparently that's no more than a routine gun crime. See you in a couple years.
But I mean, perhaps that's the point. I mean, I think the judge referencing the fact that Nicholas wants to be Sophie as some means of, getting a little bit of a less of a, slap on the hand as a reasoning there, obviously demonstrates the bias of this judge and the line of thinking of this judge. And we look at the political left right now, and they really subscribe to the ends justify the means mentality. We're seeing it play out in Virginia as Democrats still stand solidly behind their nominee for attorney general, who's on record wishing for the death of a Republican opponent and his children. So Virginia could end up with an attorney general who wishes death upon Republicans. So I think this judge has really shown her hand here. And then also what was also noted is the fact that Nicholas called 911. Well, guess what? Nicholas called 911 because there were U.S. deputies outside of Justice Kavanaugh's house, and he couldn't go through with the very thoughtful, premeditated plan, as Kaylee laid out, including purchasing weapons on 9 different times. So, this is really worrisome that there are no longer guardrails on the left, and particularly judges who are supposed to be the most responsible in all of this.
And I like that you use the word guardrails, because I saw this, and I'm sure you do too, as the test case after the Dobbs leak. Yes. That this was supposed to show the world we protect our judiciary, we do anything to keep them sacrosanct and to keep them protected, and then that message was just obliterated.
Look, I never thought that we'd see soft on crime policies at the top. I just didn't think judges would step in on that. But it seems like the prosecution did a great job and proved its case. And all the points that you made about the terrorism platform that was part of their case and how they proved it and so on and so forth, all of that is true. Yet you have a situation that because Nicholas wants the world to call him Sophie and wants that transition to happen in prison, this judge then undoes it, not just on her opinion, but she's weighing in politically into something that is against the Trump administration. I don't think that that's an accident. And I think we know more about this judge than we know about what she would do if politics were not part of it. So then the question becomes, what happens to the next person who identifies one way or the other? Is our justice system now going to capitulate as a whole so they can quote precedents? I think you have to deal with this judge. I think you have to deal with this order, and you have to call it what it was. It was political, it was personal, and it wasn't fair. And the prosecution proved their case. 8 years, 1 month is not enough. And show the case again if you have to. Show the receipts if you need to. But this can't stand. I don't think it will.
Nope, it won't. It'll be overturned. It has to. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, we've set our society up to favor one class of people, you know, me being a white male down at the bottom of that list. So white privilege has, you know, which never really existed, but it's completely gone now in America. So, yeah, it's just a crazy time to live. Crazy. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be recording another video soon, I'm sure. All right. Later, folks.